So Tanisha, how did you get involved with advocacy and what inspired you?
So advocacy has started with me on being raised in an environment that was low income, being raised in an environment that I didn't know was more or less toxic to an extent until I got older. Really opened my eyes more. I realized that things weren't fair. Why were things the way they were? And I started asking questions nobody could answer. And I realized nobody could answer them because nobody was asking them. And so I felt obligated to make sure that those questions can be answered in the future. And that means actually paying more attention, doing the research, and speaking out when we need to.
Definitely. So what have you seen as effective strategies that individuals can use to advance energy equity in their communities in terms of advocacy? So what are some things that just an average person can do to advance energy equity?
So what I've seen as strategies to advance energy equity is showing up, actually being present. Whether that means online is one way, but if you can be in person, always show up. Bring a friend. Sometimes I think in this space, people are uncomfortable because they might not be used to it. They don't know anybody. Well, you know, the buddy system always works everywhere. It's not just a safety thing to the bathroom or to cross the street, but also I think in spaces that we're unfamiliar with. And so when we feel more comfortable, we'll engage more. So if that means bring a friend, do that. Find someone that you connect with. I know that for myself, there wasn't many, especially being Afro-Latina. As I was getting higher in education, I started seeing it was only me. I've been at conferences where there's over 100 people and I'm the only one that looks like me. And so it's either shy away from it and say, you know, I don't belong here, or say, you know what, I need to bring more into this space. And I think I chose the latter.
I love that. I love that so much. Do you remember the first time you spoke at a city council meeting or the board of directors? Do you remember that, and how were you feeling? What was it like? How did you get over any butterflies, or were you just like, I'm doing it?
I think the first time I went to speak at a council meeting or just in general, on a panel, definitely butterflies. I was confident because I knew the work. So it wasn't an issue of, do I know what to say? I knew what to say. It just was, I know all eyes are on me. And I felt like I have to make sure I hit it. And being an athlete, it's like, when you swing, you try to get a home run. When you shoot in the basket, you want it to go in, right? So I felt the same way with that this was a space for me to be on that field and make that touchdown.
Right. Get out there and show them what you're made of. I love that.
Yep, no fumbling on it. Just got to, head on straight into it. And I think that being prepared is important. It's one thing to be asked to speak, just to talk is not my thing. I also love listening. I think the best way to learn is to actually engage in conversation with me listening as well as responding. And so I think that's another point too, is that people need to take advantage of listening a little bit more sometimes and speak when you have something valuable to say, not just speak to your own voice. Right,
for sure. I like how you mentioned too, you have every reason to be confident. You know your stuff, you know your life, you're the expert on, the topic that you're going to speak on. So there's no reason, to not feel confident, but still there's those butterflies.
I think everyone does. I think I've seen Beyonce say it before
Really?
she goes stage. She's like, I have butterflies every time I start.
Really?
But as soon as she starts, it just takes over. And so I think that I'm definitely no Beyonce, so I'm not saying that. But I do know that you can be the best in anything. I'd even go as far as probably Obama, or that while he's out there, that he knows he's the leader, right, of our world. But in the end, it's just I'm on there. I don't want to fail. I don't want to misspeak. I don't want to miscommunicate something, right? And so I think that as confident as we can be, that should be there because it keeps us grounded.
Yeah. Even Obama, it's one guy, there's always a chance, someone can slip up or whatever, and to not get so caught up in what if, just what if it goes perfect?
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. So how does energy policy influence energy equity in your mind, and have you seen any examples of that?
So energy policy affects energy equity because the policies right now aren't designed to affect communities of concern at an equitable level right now. We say it, we talk about it, but seeing action speaks everything. We see the policies going forward in like REACH codes, which is anytime a new building is being constructed in California, as far as I don't know everywhere, like in the nation, which it should be, but like they have to have solar panels, they have to have certain heating way, like everything has to be electric, no more gas. Stoves are being made just manufactured at all. No more gas pipes should be put into place. Right now we have SB 1221 going through California, which just passed, that says that we're going to try to put more money into green housing, meaning more electric housing instead of fixing old pipes that we're going to try to use anymore anyways. So there are policies in place, but again, I think a big part is who gets to choose the areas we're doing it is where we need to pay more attention to.
Yeah, where is that money going? Which communities? Yeah, awesome. I think that's a great example of policy and literally making homes safer and more comfortable, right? So as much as we like to hear that tack, 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 and then hear the gas come on, because that's what we're used to, that's what kind of feels comfortable. Like that is, as you've pointed out many times, that's really giving us, or the kids in particular, asthma. You know, I think 13% of childhood asthma cases in California are attributed to gas stoves. And to get the gas out of homes is a real win.
And I mean, it's a huge culture thing. So, and when I facilitate the workshops, I bring that up often, right? As I say, when we're at home, and especially when we're younger, to an adult, anytime you heard that tick tick noise, right? Maybe the newer generation doesn't know it because they got electric stoves, but us not know knows it meant food. It meant something good is coming. Yeah. And so it was a positive noise. It was a positive feeling, despite the fact we didn't know that it was toxic to the abuelita or the parent that was cooking the food. Right. And then yourself, when you came in, like I want griddles or hot pancakes like into the end, right? So I think number one, the culture into that. I know I've spoken many times to the elderly, the queens that I call in my community, and they go, I don't know how well my greens are going to cook if I can't see the fire. Right. I'm also half Hispanic, right? And so I know that we cook a lot of times tortillas on the stove and flip it on the stove. Directly on it, right? Yeah. You can't do that on an electric stove. It doesn't come out the same. It's got to stick. So there are things in our culture that we're just used to that some of us don't want to give up, despite the fact that it'll be more beneficial to our health, right? And our family members. But I think it starts with the culture. Yeah. It always says that climate justice starts in the hood. And I do believe that. I think that besides the fact what we see around us from those refineries that are taking out the oil and all that, the gas emissions from the diesel trucks that come through, it's also in our homes. And like I said, we've accepted because this is how it's been. And so I'm hoping with the new generation as we come around, they won't have a choice because there is no more stoves being made that way, right? Yeah. And so we'll find new ways to cook. We'll find new ways to make sure we get what we need to on the table. Right. And they'll be just as good. Yeah. And if not better, because now we're healthier as we're eating it. Exactly.
I love that you're touching on, these changes are, at a policy level, it's like, okay, cool, just do this, do that, replace the gas with electric, easy peasy. But there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more in terms of history and culture and tradition even. It's like, oh, this is a big shift. We're going to have to do it, and the shift is already happening, but it's not just, related to buildings or transportation. It's us, it's our lives and how we live day to day. So I really love that you bring that piece into it. Can you share an example of a policy change that resulted from public advocacy?
So a policy change. Well, I know personally, I was discriminated against as a student when I was at San Diego State. I was low income. I had an EBT card, which is an electronic benefit transfer card, which you get when you're on CalWorks in a sense. So it has cash aid on it as well as like the food portion. We call it SNAP now, but it was like the food stamps portion on it, right? And so I was at a ceramics class, and I tried to use the card at the Aztec bookstore to say, hey, I just need to buy this kit that's $15. I have $18 on my card. I have enough to buy it. And for anybody who's ever gone to college, maybe just any school, but I know the university in general, It is packed the first couple of weeks. I mean, before people know they don't want to do it anymore, we're all there.
Before
and we're all
people drop your classes.
Before they drop classes, right? I mean, we're sharking everybody, just trying to make it to class alone, right? Just to be in that space. And so the line, of course, is long. People writing books. Like we're all here to succeed, right? So we all have to get the materials that we need. But when I got to the front, she goes, "Oh, we don't take that card." I'm like, "But there's money on it." If you know it, it looks like a debit card, just like any other card. You swipe it. I mean, you can do it at the stores. But Aztec Market didn't take it. And so she said, "Oh, you can go to ATM outside." But I only had $18 on it. And so it only gives $20 increments, number one, on top of the $3 fee. So I'm already low income. I was going to have to pay more than my classmates to get this ceramics kit that I needed. It was like $15. And I mean, it had like little rakes. It had things to make a pot, to make a cup, to get creative. And so I felt defeated. And that wasn't the only instance I felt that way. Being in class, I've been where my stomach was growling so loud, and to me it felt like a bag of chips. Like when you eat, it's loud in my head. I don't know if my classmate could feel it, but I know I could hear it. And so I'm fidgeting more with paperwork, trying to, make more noise than my stomach is, because I'm hungry. But the only place I can get food is off campus. I'd have to leave campus, and that takes a little while. And I'm at San Diego State, and it's a pretty big campus. And so go from one end to the other. When we have markets here on campus.
Yeah, you have to walk by markets to get off campus.
And then I'm late to class, right? And so it just was like, and we also know just with data, food is necessary to fuel our bodies, to help our brain, to help me function, to pay attention. So now I'm not even paying attention because I'm hungry, and I'm trying to make more noise around me because I'm the embarrassment of it, right? But also the fact of just the nutrients I need. And so I started writing papers about it, and I won the 2018 SDSU symposium, research symposium.
Oh, wow.
And from that, here, my mentor was Dr. Shirley Weber. She was the Africana Studies department.
I love Shirley.
She was our dean in Africana
Studies.
And she had just won her assembly seat.
Nice.
And she said, "You know what, why don't you come up to the Capitol and let's make it a law?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'll come for a semester." So I did Sacramento State for a semester.
Nice.
And I got to introduce this bill that says all colleges, universities should accept EBT on their campuses. And that way makes it more equitable, not only for students, but also just that we can start thriving. Especially we want to bring up this economy that was in poverty and been kind of oppressed for so long. For those that are wanting to step up, we should be supporting them. Right. And not to an extent that they need more, but just equal.
Equal. Everybody else has access everyone else's card is used on campus, but you're targeted basically. And
the big part too is that the reason I even have this card is because I'm a student.
Right.
So, I mean, again, it's more research people want to do it, but to even get, like we call it CalWorks in California, right, to even be able to get this card and get the assistance, you have to either be disabled or, of course, there's a threshold of low income, but disabled or looking for work at least, or you're a student. And because I'm a student, I should be able to use this card here.
The student benefit should come with that.
And this is a part of it, right? And we know that when you look at the FAFSA records of those that are applying for FAFSA, there is a huge percentage on every school campus. So there might be a percentage of those that are also low income, that are also receiving these benefits, that could be bringing it to the school, instead of making us have to leave campus to use it. So I think there's a piece they're missing that the colleges weren't taking advantage of as well.
Right.
And so I went to the Capitol, I introduced it, and it was going through the houses, and the very last day they said, they asked a question, and Assemblymember Shirley Weber at the time, now she's our Secretary of State, Shirley Weber, Dr. Weber, but they said, how do you know students will use it? I said, of course they'd use it. I'm one of them, I'm telling you.
Right.
We're hungry.
Right.
And I have things to buy on campus, we need to use it. And they said, well, how do you know? Well, that was my first realization that data is everything. And there wasn't any data on any low-income students in college and universities. And so I said, okay, I'll be back. Right, so I came to SDSU thinking they're all going to be on board. They're going to hop on this. Unfortunately, the dining here at SDSU they weren't supportive of it. And despite me sitting in at the time, I'm not the Tanisha Jean I am today. I feel like at the time I was a lot younger. The confidence I had to speak when I have 5 people in front of me that are not on my side, and again, I'm the only one that looks like me in the room, was a little bit different. And so I felt defeated in that again. But luckily, someone at Long Beach State had heard me speaking about it, and they launched it at the school.
Oh, nice.
And so starting from one point though, now almost, I think every state accepts EBT on their campus.
Awesome.
So it started with one, and although it didn't turn into a policy, the fact I was trying to do something with
Right.
it. So
But practice is better.
You're right.
I mean, policy is to inform practice or to create practice, right? And so you were able to do it without that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so even though it did not become a policy, it's the fact of speaking out about something. And so I think that if I were to tell anybody else like what they can do in the space is to speak up. You never know where it'll go and who will hear it.
Exactly.
And in one instant, somebody, depending on perspective, may look, oh, you failed. It didn't become the policy. But did I really fail if we're using it now at schools?
Exactly.
Right. So sometimes also the way we have things designed aren't always the way we think it's going to be. We all can get to 100 different ways, but as long as we get there. And so I think that that's something to keep in mind is that when we think of policies, sometimes they don't work out the way we think. But as long as the movement is in the direction we need to, I think we succeed.
Awesome, awesome. I love too how you were talking about like the different approaches you could take to the argument, right? It's like, okay, we need data to show that students would use this. How do you show they would if they haven't had the opportunity yet? But then also what it could mean financially for dining services, what it could mean financially for the institution if they were to let this revenue in, right? So approaching it from different angles, I think, is really smart. Yeah, and I didn't know that Shirley Weber was part of your SDSU experience. I mean, she's such a powerful, wonderful, inspiring person.
Even more now, I can't even get a hold of her. But if I need her, I know that she'll come through.
Really?
But yeah, it's so, we need to evolve. And she definitely has. And I'm so proud to see, I've known her at SDSU, and now she's like in the highest ranked position we can almost be at in the state.
Yeah.
And I'm just so impressed and motivated to the role model that she is for me.
Amazing. That's fantastic. What advice would you give to somebody who knows that there are big problems that need to be solved and knows that policy is a way to solve, or at least one way to solve some of these problems, and knows that advocacy is a way to inform policy? How would you advise somebody to get involved, to take their first step toward advocacy?
If I was going to offer any advice to somebody that wants to take their first step into advocacy, just on anything in general, is research the topic, be confident about it, and know what the limit is of when you want to speak. So when you go to a council meeting, you may have 1 minute, you may have 2 minutes. You cannot go over. They will cut you off like a Grammy Award with the music coming on. Like completely, you're done. There is no exceptions, except taking a friend with you. Again, going in spaces and they can kind of succeed their minute. And so now you might have had 1 minute, but if you take 5 people with you, you might get 5 minutes because you'll have 5 people that want to say they'll give their minute to you. Now, again, that's the benefit of having a team, meeting others. The other is that don't feel alone sometimes. If within that research, if you find an organization that has similar goals as you, the mission seems to be there, reach out to them. Get the support that you need to be even more confident to be able to be successful what you want to get across.
I think that was one of the most wonderful, inspiring things about entering the climate justice space in San Diego. So I was at SDSU and I was, trying to forge a new path and talk to a bunch of different people at a bunch of different organizations, and everyone is so welcoming. Like, yeah, there's plenty of space. Yes, come, join us. So not once has someone said, oh, we can't meet now, or tell me again why you want to do this. It's just like, yes, 100%, we need all hands on deck. Let's make it happen. So
I feel fortunate. In California, it's that way. I know that when I talk to others, when I've traveled around for conferences, California is pretty advanced, I think, in wanting to be in clean energy. I don't know if that's the way it's in New York or in Florida, right? So the fact of being in California, if you have something to say, this is the place to say it.
And our influence nationally is pretty huge, right? And that's why at the federal level, they're trying to stop our policies or our requirement to not sell combustion engine cars after 2035, because they know that's going to impact the rest of the country. So here, our voice is pretty significant.
Definitely is.
Yeah. Do you have any other advice that you can provide to somebody looking to get into advocacy?
If I had any advice to give somebody that wants to get into advocacy, I would say is to reach out, start somewhere. That's it. I mean, really, if you have a thought, run with it. You never know what it'll take you. We say the rabbit holes, right? And I am someone that likes Wonderland. I think that, for thinking of the impossibles will get us to some possible things that we can do. But it starts with somebody having the thought, someone to speak out. And so until then, we have no idea where we can go. And I think that there's so many different unique perspectives, lifestyles that people have, that it's rare to find always the same, the duplicating. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, but finding new ways to push it through and get it across, I think is really important. So I wouldn't deter anybody from speaking out if they have something on their mind. And again, I think it's important to find a group that aligns with you, whether it's classmates, whether it's family, a family member, a friend, a neighbor, or just an organization that you looked up and said, let me reach out, send an email, I think is important because it connects us. And in this space, everything's connected. And it's not just clean energy. I mean, the clean energy gives us clean air. We have to care about clean water. And clean water is important because we eat things that are in the water, right? Like we're eating what's in the soil. So in the end, there's so much that connects it that there's so many bridges. Never burn them. Number one, I would say, if you can help it, step away, but don't destroy relationships. Sometimes everything doesn't need to go move together, but when you destroy one, it's hard to mend, regardless of what it is. Even if it's something toxic, it's okay to step away. But I don't know that it has to be something that has to be destroyed, because you never know what we can pull from it. Even for myself, right? I'm coming from an environment that was low income, being that I was a teenage mother, being that I was in domestic abuse, being that I had cancer. Like there's so many negative things, but every single thing I went through gave me a new path. It gave me something to look forward to, and a new goal, a new dream. And so use that as fuel to your future.
Yeah, exactly. Like all of those different experiences made you the strong, amazing Tanisha Jean you are now. Maybe without some of that, I mean, you'd still be incredible, but you'd have you'd have a different experience. So I think that whole idea of owning your past, regardless of what it looks like, to fuel that future, I think that's really, really powerful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tanisha, for being part of this and for being with me from the very beginning of this project. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate you so much. And I think going forward, I think this also was a testament too to say, we all don't, I mean, you're born in California, but we're not both in San Diego, right? And just living different lifestyles is one thing, but we can always find something we can bridge together. And so I love that we've created a relationship and just a connection in this partnership to move to clean energy. And I look forward to all the things we're going to do in the future.
Can't wait.
Yes.
Amazing.